ranking every single League Two club's current realistic ceiling. We've got some criteria to go through of how we're going to do this. We've done this for League One. We've done this for the Championship, and now we're going to be doing League Two. If you want to see the League One and the Championship versions, links are in the descriptions. But anyway, let's get into the video. Yes, lads, welcome back to the channel. I'm actually filming this straight after the League One video, so it's all fresh still. Do you know what I mean? I'm in the zone. So let me just get straight into what criteria we're going to be using to determine where people are in the tier list. So number one is going to be infrastructure. So that is the training ground, that is the stadium, the capacity, how it feeds into the revenue side of things, the financial side. Then, speaking of financial side, number two, financial backing. How much do the owners want to invest, etc., etc.? Are they going to pump money into the academy? Third is going to be history, because even though, you know, the past is the past, but it's still important, we're going to just look in terms of how big a club is, what they've historically done. Can they replicate that? It does actually mean a little bit. And then, of course, probably the most important thing, maybe arguably, the manager, the staff, the current set of players, and the academy as well. So, very, very interested to see where I'm going to put all these clubs. So, let me show you the categories of the tier list. And as you can see then, so first and foremost, I'm looking at all of these 24 teams, and I don't think any of them can get to the Premier League. I'm just going to go straight out there. That is why Championship regular is number one. That is the top where I think teams can get. If anyone thinks there is a team that can reach the Premier League, get in the comments and tell me now. But don't just say it, tell me why. And I want to go back and forth on this because I think it's a very interesting debate. There has previously, for example, I would argue Wrexham have a shout of Premier League football, of course, very close to it now. But is there a team in League Two that could do that? In my opinion, the answer is no. Anyway, Championship regular, that's number one. League One staple, just a team that gets into League One and solidifies themselves there. We've then got Yo-Yo Club, that classic in between League Two and League One, up and down. I say Rotherham, probably the most famous League One to Championship. Norwich, Championship to Prem. Who's going to be League Two? We'll get to that shortly. Then we've got stuck in League Two. And now, instead of just saying like a solid League Two team, I'm going to go with stuck in League Two. Because as much as I love League Two, it is a league you do not want to be in. If you stay in League Two, the risk of eventually just being that average, you just drop and drop and drop and drop. If you get to that National League, it is curtains, potentially curtains. Anyway, so stuck in League Two. And then finally, we've got Out The EFL, what it says on the tin. No longer a football league team, and they will not come back. And when I say ceilings, we're going off what's currently here today. So as I mentioned in the League One video, if you've not seen it, if Port Vale get taken over by Saudi billionaires, same for League Two, we'll just pick Tranmere. If Tranmere get taken over by Saudi billionaires, everything's going to change. Of course, they're going to have a higher ceiling, but as of right now, I'm looking at the next 5 to 10 seasons. Where is this club's ceiling? Maybe a bit longer on certain clubs, and I'll get to that. But 5 to 10 years, that is the metric. So let's get into it. Let's get ranking. So then up first, we've got Newport County. Now, they, to me, are such a great example of stuck in League Two. So Rodney Parade, around about 7,000 to 8,000 capacity, which is good enough for League Two. I will say that. I'm happy with that in terms of them being able to stay in League Two. It's a good commercial asset. The problem is that realistically, you're in the shadow of Swansea and Cardiff. And being in that shadow is grim, because all you're going to get is the scraps, and you need more than that to sort of push on, in my opinion. So that's the main reason why I think they'll be stuck in League Two. I also think when it comes to the financial backing, the ownership, is that really there? I think it's more of one of those clubs that is a bit more community based, which is great, and a bit more fan orientated, which is fantastic. The problem is, and I've said this over the Championship and League One, and it more so applies in League Two, in my opinion, that doesn't really get you where you need to get to, does it? You know, you need to have the investment. If you look, I explained that it was the Premier League, the Championship, and then the Championship has closed the gap. And now it's the Championship to League One in terms of the financial side. But now we're seeing League One teams closing the gap to the Championship. The issue here is that there's going to now be the gap between League Two and League One. Because what's happening is there's just so much money in League One now. League Two is going to be even harder as years go by. Maybe League Two catches up. I'm a little bit on the fence if it will. I think it's good that the National League's pumping it forward. But for Newport County, that's the reason they're going to be stuck in League Two. It's a lot of things that hold them back, but nonetheless, a very nice club. And I do genuinely really appreciate the fan-led, community-led approach. It just doesn't win your silverware, does it? Up next then, it is going to be Accrington Stanley. They are going to go into stuck in League Two. I have to say, Accrington, Newport, a bit of a similar story realistically. Where they are geographically, there's bigger clubs around them. Of course, for Accrington, it's more like your Prestons, Lancashire based. And the WAM Stadium, 5.5k in terms of capacity, not really good enough to sort of springboard you up. It's all about attendances, of course, so you've got to fill these grounds. But bear in mind, in order to take that step up, because we're talking for a yo-yo club, League One and League Two, bouncing up and down, I don't think Accrington can get near that. The fact the stadium's called the WAM Stadium, look, listen, if I had it my way, I'd be having them at the EFL. But no, in all seriousness, a club that is run quite well in a fan-driven way, community-driven way again, which is absolutely fine. But again, it does limit you. The stadium size limits them. Academy-wise, is it that good? I don't necessarily think it is. And now bear in mind, I've done a lot of research for this video. If I have missed anything or there's something important, a new development that needs to be said, get in the comments, let me know. But as of my knowledge of the situation, Accrington Stanley, a club certainly stuck in League Two with no real risk of going down and staying down. Now then, Cheltenham up next, and they are also going to be stuck in League Two. And now the reason I say this, so I actually think Cheltenham has an underrated potential to increase its stature as a football club. The city, everything, the town, I have to say, it's a town on the rise. So with that, in Gloucestershire, I do actually believe there is some value in that. However, the problem is that the ambition from the owners doesn't seem to be there. So if an ownership change were to take place, maybe Cheltenham could find themselves in a better situation. But from what I've seen, the ownership levels of ambition aren't really there that's needed to push on to become a yo-yo club, to become a League One club, or even higher. And I know they've bounced up and down between the divisions, but I just feel as though as of right now, are Cheltenham really going to make a push to go on and get promoted? With everything in place, the infrastructure in terms of stadium, I believe it's around 7,000, which is not bad, but it's not sort of screaming out to me saying, yep, you know, we're going to get promoted. Same as the training facilities. So with that all in mind, stuck in League Two, but with potential if the right ownership were to come in, or the current ownership decided to give more ambition and more spending power to the manager. Now then, Barnet, of course, a London club. Now they're an interesting one, because Barnet, in my opinion, is a club on the rise. Of course, gained promotion, have stayed in League Two, which is a fantastic achievement. You know, we don't see too many clubs come up from the National League and go straight back down, but it's a massive achievement to come up, sustain themselves in League Two, and then they can build. Now, facilities-wise, modern facilities. The stadium looks great. The training facilities, they're putting a lot of time and a lot of resources into these facilities. That does make me think they could have potential to go on to become a yo-yo club. The issue that I have with that is, are they actually going to be able to achieve it? So the stadium is still holding around 6,000 people, which is, you know, decent for League Two. Will that limit them going forward? Maybe. Are there plans in the pipeline for this to change? I haven't seen any, but the way that Barnet are moving, I'd imagine they will be. I just feel the issue is, and it could just go down to location. Look at the clubs that surround them in terms of gathering new people to the club. How are you going to do that when you've got the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham, West Ham, all in a general vicinity around them? It's going to make it very, very difficult. So one of the ones that in the next 5 to 10 years, I can't see them realistically. They may get a promotion, but would get sent, you know, straight back down from League One, in my opinion. And that doesn't justify a yo-yo club to me, because anyone can go up and come back down. I'm talking sustained, being able to do it across the 5 to 10 years. So I don't think that's where they are now. However, if things are to change in the next 10 years, if I do this again, would I say they could push on to become a yo-yo League One staple? Absolutely. So a club on the rise, but they're going to be stuck in League Two, which, by the way, that makes it sound way worse than it actually is. Credit to Barnet and what they're doing. They will get there, just not yet. Now then, Colchester United. So they're going to also sit in stuck in League Two. However, Again, similar to Barnet, they are a club that, and they're probably way further ahead than Barnet are right now, but they are a club that could push to yo-yo club. And I do see Colchester. I remember Colchester, a League One staple for a decent amount of time when I was growing up, when I was younger. It has come down as of late. The reason why I'm going to keep them stuck in League Two is, again, it comes down to financial backing, ownership, ambition. I don't necessarily see it from what I've researched that it's there. Because obviously I can look at all of the League Two results on the weekend, and I can look at what the transfer business says and stuff, but that doesn't tell the full picture of where the club is going. Is it run sustainably? Is it possible for them to pump more money into it and keep it sustainable? These are the questions that need to be answered for me. So Colchester fans, I'm actually speaking directly to you here now. Let me know in the comments if I've got this wrong, because Colchester, 10,000 seater stadium, decent-ish facilities, they could push on to become a yo-yo club. The history makes it there as well. The current set of players, it's a very sort of young squad in places. So definite potential, but I just don't think they're going to be backed on the pitch by the owners enough to justify becoming a yo-yo club. So if that is not the case, and you do think Colchester, and be reasonable as well, try to take the bias away, and any neutral fans or other League Two fans, let me know on this one as well. But Colchester are an interesting one. Are they able to make the jump and sustain it? I'm not sure. Are they able to go up and come down and go up and come down? Again, I'm not sure. So it's going to be very, very interesting, but stuck in League Two as it stands. Now then, Chesterfield. They are actually going to be a yo-yo club. And I really do like what's going on. I feel like Chesterfield is a club that went down to the National League, have come back and have done very well. And they've got a good set of players. Ownership-wise, of course, there's been some recent losses in there. So it's a very difficult time for them. They're obviously moving on from that point, as difficult as it may be. Will that hinder things slightly? Potentially, you just don't know. Look at Leicester as an example. Anything can happen, and it's a very sad loss for the club. However, what I will say is I do think that they will be able to go up, and will they be able to sustain League One football, 10-ish thousand, 11,000 seater stadium? Revenue-wise, what does that mean for them? I don't necessarily think it will, but when they come down, they're going to be one of the favourites to bounce back up every time, in my opinion. I just think that the core is there. The core around the club is good enough to sustain that. So I think they're a good case for a yo-yo club. But again, is the current losses within the ownership team going to affect things? Potentially. So let's just see how it goes. But as of right now, I think a yo-yo club, which is a good achievement from where they've come from. Let me know if you're happy with that one, Chesterfield fans. It's obviously a very difficult time and difficult to even try and predict in terms of what the financial aspects of the club are going to look like, with a bit of not uncertainty, it's just a tragedy that's gone on within the club. So an interesting time for them, but on the pitch, are they going to get there? I think they will. I think Yo-Yo Club is fair. Now then, Grimsby Town, who showed everyone what they are capable of after they beat Manchester United, the biggest club arguably in the world, definitely in England. So a club that have shown they've got what it takes to, play against the big teams. Are they going to end up going on and getting there? Well, I think as things stand at the moment, they're going to sit in Yo-Yo Club. Now, infrastructure-wise, very similar to Chesterfield in terms of the facilities and the stadium size. In terms of the actual club itself, a very, very loyal fan base. Grimsby fans, very, very solid. And I feel as though off the pitch, the ownership is taking certainly steps in the right direction. So £1.5 million was issued as share options that are able to purchase, meaning that what they think is going to happen is US investors are going to come into Grimsby and boost the club's profile, which is going to be absolutely massive, because when we spoke about Accrington and Newport, well, unfortunately, this is the problem, because that is a great model and we love it, and back in the day it worked. What Grimsby are looking to do, that is the way forward. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but the more money in the club, the more chance of promotion. Just because the certain clubs like Accrington, like Newport, they just can't keep up. So Grimsby have that available for them. They've got a decent set of players, a good model around it. There's a good feeling at the club after some successes in the cup competitions, as I mentioned. So I genuinely think a Yo-Yo Club is fair. Do I see them staying in League One? Not really. But again, are they now positioned to, for the next at least 5 years anyway, to be going up and maybe back down again and back up? I think so. But I don't think that's an issue, because it's a building block and they are slowly building, which I also think is sensible to not overdo it. But yeah, I would like to see Grimsby back in League One. Just don't necessarily think they can put themselves in this League One staple and stay there as things stand at the moment, but give them time. A club on the rise, certainly. Now then, Swindon Town. And this is an interesting one because my head is, well, my heart is saying put them there under Ian Holloway. I mean, why would they not go on to become a League One staple? 15 to 16,000 seater stadium, which is so good for League Two and even good for League One, I would say. It's the building blocks for a championship regular team, a team that can go back there. They've had the history. They've been in the Premier League under Glenn Hoddle. So the issue for me is that I'm not actually going to put them as a League One staple, because my fear here is that they're not going to get the financial backing needed to go on to sustain League One football. And that is as things stand at the moment. From what I've seen, there's no indications that the owners are going to back them heavy. If you look at Bradford, for example, they completely switched their model. They said, right, we're going to invest in the squad and go for it. And look at where that's got them. Will Swindon do that? Maybe, but I'm not a fortune teller. So I've got to go off what we can see today. And if they do struggle to get promotion this season or next season, and they may lose a few key players, is that going to delay things potentially? And that is why I think next 5 to 10 years, Yo-Yo Club is probably the fair route to go down. Now then, Crawley Town up next, and they are going to sit stuck in League Two. Now, of course, there was a whole ownership change in around 2025, August time. So things have now changed. They've come down from League One. I think they've actually been very lucky to stay up this season, because genuinely, when I was looking at it at the start to midpoint of the season, I was thinking Crawley are in trouble. They always made chances, but they just look like a team that could go down. And if you go down again, it's game over, in my opinion. You go back to back like that, very, very difficult. Look at Morecambe as a great example of that. But in terms of where the ceiling is, the reason why I'm going to say stuck in League Two and not able to get back even to a Yo-Yo Club status is because the ownership that we've now got in the Khalili brothers, I believe is that how you say it. I'm awful with names. If you're new to the channel, just know I am so bad at pronouncing names. I did a Football Manager series. I'm having to call players by their first name. When I see it written, I just can't say it. So the Khalili brothers, let me know in the comments if that's right or not. But regardless, we don't know what's going to happen here, because it looks decent on paper, but is it actually going to turn into something decent? Unsure at this point. The issue that I've got as well is, even with a decent amount of ownership backing, the facilities, the infrastructure of the club are going to let it down. So historically, they've never really been anything higher than a League One club. The infrastructure, as I say, is a little bit disappointing. Only 6,000 seater stadium. The owners, we don't know at this moment in time how that's going to play out. It's effectively a blank canvas. What's going to happen, we don't know. And so I just don't think, with the current squad where they are, the fact they've been relegated, the fact they've been really poor this season, is it going to transpire to anything but stuck in League Two? Personally, I think they've found their level, and that is where they'll stay. Now then, Fleetwood Town is a very, very interesting one, and they actually, in my opinion, sit on the cusp of Out The EFL and stuck in League Two. But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, because it is the ceiling. You know, it is the ceiling, and it's better to be a little bit more positive when you're 50-50 on one. So we'll go with stuck in League Two. Now, if you didn't know, the former owner of Fleetwood Town jailed for 13 years for fraud. Now, that left the club with £36 million of debt, which for a League Two team is absolutely crazy. Now, the former owner's son has taken over as the new owner. So what that effectively means is that he has taken on the debt. Now, the club, the EFL, have stepped in and said, you've got to have an independent director in order for this ownership to stand effectively, because of how poorly the club was run previously. So that all makes sense, and that gives a little bit of stability. But bear in mind, £36 million in debt. They've only got a 6,000-seater stadium. So in terms of revenue coming in, Fleetwood, it's just not there. And this club is a great example of how not to run a football club, and how these owners come in and they almost run these clubs into the ground. So I think that Fleetwood will be lucky to stay as a League Two team, and stuck in League Two, they're just happy to be in League Two, because genuinely, I only think it gets worse before it gets better, but I don't think that that worse looks like that. If it did look like that, and if Fleetwood do end up going down, I fear for them. I really, really do. I really don't know how they're going to come back from that. The ownership, the structure at the club, it is in such a dire strait right now. So it's a very difficult time. So yeah, Fleetwood fans, if I've got any of that wrong, or there's a few details missing, any new updates I haven't seen, please do let me know. Very interesting in terms of where the ceiling is. I really hope it's not out the EFL. Now then, Harrogate Town, they are going to be the first club that are out the EFL. And it's a difficult one because I do like Harrogate. I think fair play to them. They've come up, they've given it a really good go. They've been here for a few seasons now. But the bubble's going to burst. And when it bursts, they're going to go down to the National League. And everything about them is National League. The infrastructure, the history, the squad. Like, once they go down, I can't see them coming back up. But they had a great go. And we're talking 5 to 10 years, you know, at least 5 seasons here. So in those next 5 to 10 years, I just can't see it. Now, if anything were to change ownership-wise, potentially, I don't necessarily think that ownership backs it enough. There hasn't been the level of ambition. When you stabilise as a League Two team, you've got to fight to be there. Have they done that off the pitch in terms of facilities? I don't think they have. Have they done it on the pitch in terms of recruitment? Again, I don't think they have. So it will be sad to see. Because I do like I can't speak. Because I do like Harrogate. I do like Simon Weaver. But it's going to come to an end, isn't it? It just has to. Look at the non-league teams that are waiting to come up. There's only 2 positions that go up. Look at them. They are absolutely desperate. There's so many clubs that are getting investment into is seen as a great opportunity to go low. Are Harrogate going to be that club? I don't think so. So I think out the EFL, but they are an out the EFL club. They're a National League club across every single metric you can measure. But I like them though. Fair play to them. They're giving it a good go. Now then, Gillingham. Now I'm torn between Yo-Yo Club and League One Staple, but I'm going to put them in League One Staple. Now, the Priestfield Stadium, around about 11,000 is where it holds. So that's decent enough to maintain League One football, but it probably needs more in the future. Now, the reason why I believe that this can happen is because of Gillingham's ownership. So the owner, he's an American-based man. He's pumping money into this club. He's loaned around about £7.5 million, interest-free. That is the big thing here. Interest-free to Gillingham. So it's a big commitment. And if he continues with this commitment, I think Gillingham are going to win. Now, this season has been an absolute horror show for Gillingham. I mean, we went from an unbeaten run thinking, geez, these lads are serious to, oh my word, lucky they had a decent start to the season. As they'd be going down. It really was that bad at one point. And with that, of course, that doesn't determine a ceiling. Every club can have a bad spell, but they do need to get on with things. And I do think that there needs to be potentially a manager change. I do like Gareth Ainsworth, I genuinely do, but is there time for a manager change, a more modern approach? Probably. But off the pitch, the investment, the ownership, they are doing things to make sure that Gillingham remain and push on to become a League One club. I mean, I think I saw £1.75 million was being invested in terms of a warehouse. That's the new thing, isn't it? Like a warehouse outside the ground to give a new match experience. These are all the things that the modern clubs are doing. So therefore, I do think Gillingham have the potential to push on to become a League One staple. Once they get there, if the ownership stays as it is, I can see it happening. But yeah, I mean, as of right now, if I was going off this season, I'd be saying, Jesus Christ, they'll be lucky to get out of League Two. Now then, Shrewsbury Town. So they are going to sit in Yo-Yo Club, and I don't think they quite have the means to get back up to League One and stay there, but certainly a club that can go on, get promotion out of League Two, and find themselves in that yo-yo situation. Now, the reason that I say this is stadium-wise, around about 10k, which is not bad, but it's not really enough, is it, to go on and push on to really stabilise themselves. It is in that bracket of, you know, because revenue's so important in football now, it just is. So they're there or thereabouts there. Of course, there was the failed takeover attempt, which looking back now, if anyone gets failed via a takeover because overseas there's got issues financially, thank God that isn't in your club. I mean, Jesus Christ, I saw it with Villa firsthand. Dr. Tony Zhao, Chinese businessman, nearly ran us into the ground, and he was one of the good ones. So there are way worse ones out there. But anyway, the fact that didn't happen, I believe that Shrewsbury are still looking for investment. I will be honest, I haven't seen anything as of late. So if Shrewsbury fans, if you can see anything, let me know. But certainly, ambition-wise, I think Yo-Yo Club is where it is. Shrewsbury, decent club. Where they are situated in the UK as well, it's never going to bring huge crowds in, and the growth isn't really there to expand massively, but there is growth to be had. So I do think that Shrewsbury Town will bounce back to be that yo-yo club, but they'll bounce between League One and League Two, no more than that. I can't see them staying as a League One club unless something changes, of course, in terms of the ownership and the new investment. If it does come in, then we'll talk. But as of right now, a yo-yo club, but I feel like that's a fair yo-yo club. Right then, Tranmere Rovers, a very interesting time. So It's crazy to say this, but I genuinely think that they are a League One staple in terms of how far they can go. Now, stadium size, 16,000 seat stadium, very solid in that regard. It just gives you that extra push. You know, you don't have to spend money expanding the stadium because it's already good enough to be a League One stadium, and you're able to invest in the club. Now, the interesting thing here is, as of early 2026, I saw that there was a pending ownership change awaiting EFL approval. If that has happened, let me know. I couldn't see anything that says that it has, but a very interesting time. With that, the new ownership are promising to invest in the squad. Where they're situated in the Wirral, near that Liverpool area, serious growth could be had. Tranmere Rovers, certainly a club on the rise. Now, this is going off right this second right now. If Tranmere get relegated to the EFL, who knows? At this point, who knows? I would have to bring it down to probably a stuck in League Two, because how well could they bounce back? You just don't know. So a very interesting time, but if they can survive the drop this season, get the new ownership in, start spending money, invest in the club, who knows where they could go? I'm saying League One staple, but wow, could it completely turn on its head if they do go down? So very interesting time. I should have probably waited to the end of the season to do this, you know. That would have... Nah, who cares? We'll do it. Well, we're doing it now anyway. We're live. We're doing it now. But regardless, a very interesting time for Tranmere Rovers. Infrastructure-wise, absolutely League One. Players and staff at the moment and managers... I mean, that is stuck in League Two all over it. Financial ambition, if these owners come in and do what they say they will, it's League One. History-wise, they can be League One, League Two. So they're a bit all over the place in terms of the criteria, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I do believe with the right ownership, they can get there. Now then, Walsall up next, and they are going to sit in Yo-Yo Club. But at the moment, I have to say, it is an exciting time for Walsall, and they are one of those clubs, again, right on the cusp of becoming a League One staple. Historically, Walsall, to me, when I think about them, I do think League One. I think probably League Two a bit more, but history-wise, they're certainly in between the two divisions. Now, ownership-wise, this is where it gets interesting. So, American owners purchased 51% of the club. That is massive news, majority shareholders. After that, there's been a further pledge to buy the stadium. Now, purchasing the stadium is absolutely huge. If they can get that stadium, first of all, sell the naming rights. But my God, do not sell it to Poundland. Please, please, please. We're not going back to the Poundland Arena. We're just not doing that. And Walsall fans think I hate them. I don't hate them. I hate how you move. Whereas new ownership coming in, look, I'm here to get excited. Of course, in the West Midlands, there is a market there. It is driven heavily by Villa, Birmingham, West Brom, Wolves. I'm not even going to say Coventry, but Coventry, they're too far away. But regardless, there's a market there. Are they able to get a hold of it? I'm not too sure. But certainly with the investment going on off the pitch, purchasing the stadium, everything is moving in the right direction. Certainly good enough to go up. Are they good enough to stay there? We'll have to see. If these... Because again, I don't know how these owners are going to move. I can't predict the future. If these owners come in, I might revisit this video maybe next year. And if anything's changed, or the year after. And if that is the case, I genuinely think they move to that. They are right on the cusp. We'll put them actually there, because they're like right next to it then. Do you know what I mean? They're like the next one on. So we'll put them there just to prove a point. But Walsall, certainly a club on the rise. Interesting times ahead. Now then, Cambridge. Now this is an interesting one, because it all comes down to the stadium. Because I'm torn between saying they're a championship regular and a team, or not a championship team that can sustain it. And if there was an option for Yo-Yo Club between this, I think it just makes the video a bit silly at this point, but I would probably put them there. But I'm going to go with League One staple. Now, it all hinges on the stadium, in my opinion. Now, there's a lot of talk of a new 15,000+ seater stadium, state-of-the-art, being built. That is fantastic for them. I think they're going to get the backing off the pitch from the owners as well, and they're going to really give it some. So I think they will become a League One staple, and I think they will get back maybe even this season as well, which would be a great achievement from where they were. But the issue here is when they decided to do redevelopment jobs for the stadium, £420,000 worth of red flags were raised. So that has put the stadium into contention, because building a whole new stadium, that's a different ballgame. But what it will bring to them is massive. Now, Cambridge as a city is a city on the rise. And Cambridge in general, there's a lot of room for development. If I was one of these investors looking to buy a League Two club and really push on and take them there, you'd look at Cambridge because it's historically a very English town in terms of the history of Cambridge University, etc. And the football club on the rise, very modern in terms of the way they seem to be doing things off the pitch. I'd give it a go, but it all depends on what happens with this stadium. Is it going to get built? If it is built, I'm hearing that it's going to be built with talk of redevelopment plans to go bigger when they need it to. So everything will be set up to do it as sort of sustainably as possible. It's just, will it happen? So I'm going to leave them as League One staple, but I do think they're going to get it sorted. Now then, we have got Oldham Athletic, and they are also going to be a League One staple. Now, Oldham for me, stadium-wise, very decent in terms of capacity. Ownership-wise, this is where I'm most impressed. They've got an owner that genuinely seems to really care about the club, and that is so important, especially when you've got a story like Oldham where it has been absolutely rough at certain points. So genuinely, I think the ownership, the stadium, and apparently the ownership have purchased the stadium or are in the process of purchasing it, so that seems to all be going in the right direction. Manchester as a place, or Greater Manchester as a place where the club is based, I think there's a lot of room for growth there, even though you're always going to be dominated by the two Manchester clubs. Salford are a prime example of how you can go on and do that. A big university presence, similar to Cambridge, to be fair. But Oldham, historically, a club that we need to get back up the Football League. In the Championship would be fantastic with redevelopment, or at least like a League One Championship yo-yo. But certainly can become a League One staple. They're making all the right moves to go and do it, and I really hope they do, because I think they're a club that have got a very good fan base, a loyal fan base that stuck with them, and they deserve to see their team playing at least in League One. So that is where I think the ceiling is as it stands at the moment, but let's see what the owner does in terms of investment as the years go on. Now then, Crewe Alexandra. They, for me, would have been a League One staple. I genuinely believe in Crewe's ability to go back up and stay there. The problem is I'm going to put them in Yo-Yo Club because the academy recently downgraded from category 2 to category 3, which is massive because what has everyone said about Crewe, the academy has always been a massive, massive thing for them. So the fact that that is now not the case and it has been downgraded, I think it just spells a bit of uncertainty around the club that used that academy so well. And I think realistically, they're going to sit in that Yo-Yo Club stage, and that's the best it can get. I actually think they'll be more so stuck in League Two for a little while, but you never know if the ownership off the pitch can get things sorted and they can get a decent a decent set of players together that can actually go on and do things. I think maybe, but that really is a negative sign for Crewe that the academy has been downgraded. As I say, it was regarded as one of the best outside the Premier League in the UK. So a very disappointing time for Crewe in that regard, and that is unfortunately going to cap where they can get to. Now then, Bristol Rovers. Now they are going to sit. This is a tough one, I'm still undecided about this. I've obviously chosen before I've done this where people are going to be, and I have chopped and changed a little bit whilst I'm filming this. I'm going to go with Yo-Yo Club, and here's the reason why. Because their stadium at the moment is absolutely horrendous. It is in serious need of redevelopment. Now, the reason why they'd even be considered to be a League One staple is because they're in Bristol. And Bristol is the biggest city, the second biggest city that doesn't have a Premier League club. So there is a huge potential to really grow that fan base and rival Bristol City. The problem is with the stadium as it is, I just don't think it's possible. Now, the club recently came out and said that they're looking at options. These options that they're looking at tells me there's no sign that an actual stadium development is in place. They were quoted an obscene amount of money to fix the current stadium. That's just not going to fly. So I think until they get that stadium sorted, I just can't go with it. Now, it is a little bit similar to Cambridge. So why have I put Cambridge up there and Bristol Rovers back down there? The reason being is because I just don't necessarily think that Bristol Rovers are going to get there anytime soon. And that just spells Yo-Yo Club for me. I think Cambridge are run a bit better off the pitch. Bristol Rovers, arguably the owner has decent ambition, but that ambition is not being shown. We need to see that ambition turn into something in terms of the stadium, get it sorted, either fix it up and pay the money or go and get a new one. When that happens, and Bristol Rovers, if they can seriously get some good financial backing, it's an untapped market really, because I know Bristol City are huge out there, but they can seriously grow that club. If that happens, see them back in the Championship. But it's just, is it going to happen? I don't necessarily think so. They're going to stay as a yo-yo club for now. Now then, Bromley up next, arguably going to be champions of League Two. We'll have to see how it goes, but they are going to sit in yo-yo club for me. Now, there's a lot of exciting things going on at Bromley, and I think the ownership are really giving it a go. Do I think they've got promoted too quickly? In an essence, yes, because I don't think they'll be able to go up and sustain it financially. I think they will come straight back down. Maybe not straight back down. Maybe they'll survive one season, but the financial ramifications of being a League One team will begin to sort of eat on them and slow them down. So I do think Yo-Yo Club is where it's going to be. But in 5 to 10 years' time, let's see where they are, because they could certainly go on. They've already developed the stadium, which I think is huge. If they're able to do that again, increase the capacity from 6 to 10, for example, or 6 to 8, and slowly build that up, they can certainly stabilise themselves as a League One team. But the question for me this season was, can they sustain League Two football? Can they do it again? And they've absolutely smashed it out the park. So all credit to them. Where they're based in South London, it's actually a decent location. I had a look into the club, what's going on. It's a very interesting time. I probably spent a lot of time on Bromley, because where do you rank them? It's very difficult to do. 2,000 plus houses being built right near the stadium. That can just do fantastic things to grow the fan base. So I do genuinely think Bromley will get there. They need more time to do it, and they're only in their second season back in the EFL. Or I say back in the EFL, in the EFL. So credit where credit's due. They're building. It's just not enough, though, to sustain League One football, but they will get there. They will. So a yo-yo club for now. They'll go up, they'll go down, they'll go up, they'll go down. And then at some point, probably 5 to 10 years' time, they're going to go up, and that's going to be it. They're going to arguably stay there, but we don't necessarily know for certain if that's going to happen. So based off what we know right now, where they are, I think they're going to struggle financially, so they're going to have to stay yo-yo club. I just can't justify giving them League One staple. Barrow up next, and they're going to sit out the EFL. And it's unfortunate the Cumbrian market just isn't what it needs to be, in my opinion, to sustain football in the EFL. 5,000-seater stadium, it's not the worst, but it's not fantastic. It's a very similar situation to Harrogate. And I just think that realistically, when you look at the infrastructure, it's non-league. When you look at the market around them in Cumbria, it's non-league. And so therefore, I think as soon as they do leave the EFL, I can't see them coming back. So I think it's a very difficult one for Barrow, and maybe it's a bit harsh to say the ceiling is that, maybe Barrow fans would say we could be in League Two for a while. I don't see it myself. I think as soon as you go down, you're going to struggle. There's just clubs in the National League that are building these huge football clubs and brands up to be something that when they get to League Two, they're going to stay there. Cumbrian market just isn't where it needs to be for me. Now then, Notts County. This is an interesting one, because they're going to become a Championship regular. So stadium-wise, of course, they can get to the Championship. Of course they can. 20,000 seater stadium. They've obviously got this warehouse that's been built as well. They're so close to Nottingham Forest. I love that. I mean, it's got nothing to do with their ceiling is, but I absolutely love that. But certainly a club that's a sleeping giant. Ownership came in 2019, a winding up order. We all saw it. We all thought, are Notts County going to be the next club that go down to the National League? A huge club to go, but that's not been the case. It is a new style of ownership. Is it a data-driven ownership? An ownership that, in my opinion, can genuinely do very, very well. At least go on to get to the Championship. It can get you very far. It's doing something that other League Two clubs aren't doing, and I think they're even bringing in AI to help with things, which is very, very interesting. So how they're going to do that, we'll have to see. But Notts County definitely have the potential to have that Championship time in the second division, and maybe even at some point making that push to the Premier League. So Notts County, in my opinion, arguably the highest chance of any team in League Two playing in the Premier League, maybe. Notts County fans, though, let me know, where do you guys think the ceiling is? Can you get back to the Premier League? I'm sure when I asked at the start of the video, if anyone thinks there's a Premier League club that can do it, a League Two team that can get back to the Premier League, maybe Notts County fans, you said it was you. Genuinely, I think they've got the best chance. The ownership seems absolutely concrete. They seem like they're going in the right direction. I like it a lot. And I genuinely feel as though this season might be their time to get promotion back to League One, which will be massive for the club. Now then, Salford City. Where are they going to sit? I'm actually going to go for Championship regular. Now, this may seem crazy because the stadium is anywhere near a championship size stadium, and I completely agree with you. The thing is here, we all know the class of 92, they are the ones behind the scenes that are pumping Salford City. In my opinion, that is just too big to ignore. Now, what's going to happen, in my opinion, is very similar to maybe like the Wrexham model, where ultimately it doesn't matter how big the club is now, with the backers behind it and the social media reach, and the fact that, you know, for example, we've got Sky Sports covering Salford games, showing Gary Neville, showing the reactions of the owners. I think that's absolutely huge for Salford, and that will lead to huge, you know, commercial deals. They'll have a documentary, all of these things. They're just absolutely massive in terms of building the club off the pitch, because it is now, it's a social media world. The fact that, you know, people are even watching this video, for example, like that just shows the reach that you can get with social media. So I think Salford are going to be another big example of that. So they need to improve the stadium. Of course they will. Of course they will. They need to get promotion to League One. When they get there, they'll stabilise. They'll throw money at it. They'll absolutely go for it. And I just think 5 to 10 years, we're not talking actually 5 years, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the line, will they be in the Championship? I think absolutely. And I just don't think there's an argument that can justify why they wouldn't be there. If there is one, let me know in the comments. And lastly, it's MK Dons, and you're crazy if you think otherwise. Now, it's a different story if you say, do you want MK Dons to make it to the Championship? That's a different story. But if we're being unbiased and realistic, of course they are. 30,000 seater stadium. It's a very nice stadium. It is a soulless bowl. It's a soulless bowl, but I mean, everyone has a soulless bowl at this point, don't they? And I genuinely think the owners came in 2024, the Kuwait owners, and they cleared the club of debt, and they've cited Bournemouth, Brentford, probably even the likes of maybe like a Villa and Newcastle in terms of teams that have gone up, got European football. Sunderland, they've gone up and done it. That is their model. They want to find these players that are doing really, really well, develop these players and turn them into stars. And with that model, they're going to climb the leagues. They've got the infrastructure, it's there. They've got the financial backing, it's there. The city is one of the biggest on the rise. 300,000 people live in Milton Keynes. So a club that right now shouldn't be in League Two based on everything, but performance-wise, absolutely. Once they get promotion this year, they've got Paul Warne as manager. They're going to spend a load of money. They're going to survive in League One. In my opinion, actually, they might even finish in the playoffs. Once they get back to the Championship, they're going to stay there, and the club is going to fill those seats again. So genuinely, a club certainly on the rise. The infrastructure is already there. How can you not say Championship regular? How can you not? So that is my list. That is everyone. There it is. Let me know what you think in the comments. Have I got anything right, wrong, etc.? I'm very keen to hear this, because League Two ceilings are so hard to do. I've argued this is one of the hardest ones I've done, because ownership-wise, it can all change, and it doesn't take the amount of money a League One or Championship club has to put in to make a real difference. So genuinely, this could be out of date come the summer. That's why I love League Two. That's why it's so exciting. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Does anyone have any crazy shouts, anything like that? Very keen to hear it. And as always, if you are enjoying the content, thank you so much for watching. Drop that subscribe button. That just sounded wrong. Hit the subscribe button, drop me a comment, drop me a like. Normally this just flows off the tongue, but it's not doing it today. But thank you so much for watching. The support lately has been absolutely phenomenal. I've got so much more coming. Let me know what you guys want to see. I've got Keep, Sell and Sign, a new series coming towards the end of the season, where I'm going to go through loads of different clubs and basically just show you what I would do with the squad, who I'd keep, who I'd sell, who I'd sign. It really is as easy as what it says on the tin, but I can't wait to make those sort of videos for you. So they're coming towards the end of the season. We'll be reviewing the end of the season. We've got some reacting to my season predictions. So anyone that commented on the season predictions that said, you don't know ball, there's no way they're finishing there, I think you might be right. There's a few shouts that I've got, especially in League Two. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. It's my very first ever video, and Jesus, yeah, some awful shouts, but I can't wait to go through that with you guys as well. So thank you so much for watching, and as always, lads, I will catch you on the next one.